Very good morning to all of you. My name is Ritesh, and I am the host for this session. I'll be hosting this event with one of my colleagues, Mr. Kautilya. And so I'd directly like to begin with the introductory speech. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to our guest speaker event on building an agile and nimble organization. It is a great pleasure to have Mr. Aniruddha Khekale, an esteemed HR expert and transformation leader, as our guest speaker today. With a remarkable experience over 29 years in HR management, business transformation, and mergers and acquisitions, Mr. Khekale has successfully led numerous expansions, consolidations, and cultural integration initiatives. His expertise in Lean Six Sigma, total quality management, and leadership development has had a significant impact on the organizations he has served. Today, Mr. Khekale will share his valuable insights on organizational design, leadership development, and the implementation of Lean Six Sigma and total quality management principles. He will emphasize the importance of fostering positive employee relations, ensuring industrial harmony, and upholding corporate governance. And Mr. Khekale is an alumnus of XLRI Jamshedpur and completed his MBA in the year of 2012. We strongly encourage all of you to actively participate in this event and take advantage of the opportunity to learn from Mr. Khekale's expertise. Let us collectively explore strategies to build agile and nimble organizations that drive growth and achieve success in today's dynamic business landscape. Thank you. And with that, I would request Aniruddha sir to take over the proceedings and enlighten us with his experience and expertise. So over to you, sir.
Right. Hey, thank you so much, everybody, and very happy to see you all, here today morning. And honestly speaking, I wanted to come there in person, and so that would have been more meaningful. That would have been more exciting, actually. But unfortunately, there are so many things, going around, and there are a lot of moving things around, so I couldn't really make it in person. But very happy to connect with all of you on this platform, and then maybe whenever opportunity presents, I will like to come over. So I just want to get a sense of, what is the stage of your, course now? This is like 2 years and you have completed 1 year, or what stage we are into at this point of time?
So we all are 1 year students. So our MBA program is, yeah, of course.
Okay. So you will be completing your program in this this July time frame, is it?
Yes, sir, in 2024.
Okay. And in 2024, okay. All right. And so you all have about 5+ years experience. That's what I'm told.
Yes, sir. The average experience is close to 7 years. And yeah, yes, sir.
What is the highest experience?
So the highest experience is 23 years. There is an army colonel along with us, and he is from Indian Army.
Right.
And there are people from various backgrounds.
Right. Okay. So how many participants we have in, let's say, 15+ or 20+ years experience? Just a ballpark number. I'm not looking at exact.
So 15+, there are very rare number of people. So I believe there are only 2 or 3 with 15+ years of experience. And most of the bracket is in 6 to 8 years of experience.
Okay. Sounds good. So thank you so much, everybody. And, I'm sure this will be a good interaction. This would be more of a two-way interaction, quite frankly, because, what I'm going to share with all of you, purely comes from my experience and doesn't necessarily mean that that's the way so it's more like interactive. I'm going to share my experience with you, my understanding about, how organizations have responded in different times. And one example. So there was a case study given to all of you. You all got it yesterday?
Yes, sir. We have shared the case study with everyone.
Okay. And I'm sure you might have, kind of put together your thoughts around, what are those possible solutions. So we'll spend some time talking about, that as well. That's, by the way, a real life situation, which, we have encountered in one of my company that I worked with. Okay, so quickly, let me share my screen, and then we can get, talking about it. All right, so share and let me know when you are able. Hello?
Yes, sir. Visible. It's visible, sir.
Okay, good. Sounds good. Okay. So, yeah, well, I work with a company called CG Power and Industrial Solutions. This company was earlier known as Crompton Greaves. That name is kind of very well known. But somewhere along, the consumer electrical business was pinned off, got separated, and then they took away the brand name of Crompton Greaves. And then what remained, which is the mother entity, is CG. So that is CG Power and Industrial Solutions. And we operate in the industrial segment, predominantly into, we have three business verticals: industrial, power, and railways. And we have products like motors, transformers, reactors, products related to, railways, traction machines, signaling solutions, and those kind of things. Yeah. So, and then this company was earlier owned by Thappers, but there were severe problems which were created in the company in 2018-19 timeframe. So obviously the earlier management had to go out, and Murugappa Group took over. And I would encourage you to read that story and study a little bit about this particular takeover, because it's a very classic example of a takeover at an absolutely right time, and the way Murugappa approached is absolutely a phenomenal, kind of case to learn about. So I would suggest that there's a lot of material available, in the public domain, so you all can take a look at it. And I must say that this company was taken over by Murugappa in 2020, November 20, and there has been a significant turnaround to an extent where not only, company was turned profitable, but also, more importantly, it became debt free, and significantly, profit making company today. So this year, like March 2022, we have 23, we've clocked a profit of 900 crore plus. So it's a phenomenal, kind of company. So let me quickly then share my thoughts with you. Some charts I put together, for you to know about this company a little bit more. So a little bit about my experiences. Some of these areas I have been able to, kind of gain some experience. Human resource, obviously, that has always been my core and my fundamental, part of my portfolio. But I think I was lucky to get an opportunity to work on the business excellence, quality side, lean management, Six Sigma, and all of that. And then very rarely you get that opportunity. And I would say that I got this opportunity in my 20s. So there was a phenomenal learning involved into this journey. And I would say that because of this, perhaps, I could work very closely with the business and could pick up, much better understanding about, business and issues and how do we really, encounter those. The third is, culture. I think I've been a part of several mergers, acquisitions, a company, moving from one hand to another, or company which is evolving from a very small company to a big, multi-location, multi-platform company. So culture has always been a very, close in terms of my portfolio. Organization and planning and development, I think this is a very significant portion, which again, rarely HR people get exposure. If you're working in a very stable environment, then you get limited exposure. But when you're working in a fast-paced, growing, or highly dynamic environment, then you get a very good experience on organization planning and development. And I have also been very lucky on that front. Mergers and acquisitions, integrations, I think around 12 plus mergers and acquisitions, different form and shape. I was able to, get experience on, and very, very interesting experience, quite frankly. And then expansions, consolidation, that has also been, part of my core, for several years, right from beginning, I would say. And then strategic projects, transformation projects, company wants to completely change, its structure, its format, its orientation to the world and all of that. So I think that has been a wonderful experience all the time. And the kind of companies that I worked with were Veroc, which is an Indian company, entrepreneur based. When I started with them in 1994, 95, company was like 40, 50 crore company. When I left, it was 2000 plus. Now it is like 9,000 crore company. Cummins, you all know that company very well. Danaher, is a known company. I was fortunate enough to, get some work, experience with Danaher. And that is where, again, a lot of business sense, a lot of, business focused HR I could learn and I could do. And then Emerson, and then finally, CG. Emerson has been, the most significant part of my career, 11 years. And that is where perhaps, I grew as a leader. That's perhaps, the thing. Okay, so CG quickly, there are three verticals. One is power, which is into transformers, variety of like right from generation, to distribution transformer to, your power transformer, reactors, everything. And then the second major portion over there is switch gears, and all LT, HT kind of switch gears. Industrial, predominantly motors, again, all variety of motors, LT, HT, frequency horsepower power motors and everything, and also, drives and automation. So that is the industrial part. And railways, like I mentioned earlier, traction motors, alternators, traction converters, a lot of electrical, systems, providing panels, SCADA, so many things in railways. And now we are very closely working on projects related to Vande Bharat, for that matter. So significantly industrial and engineering and manufacturing oriented company, CG is. Okay, sounds good. Then let's go to the next. So obviously the locations, we have 18 manufacturing facilities, Maharashtra, MP, Goa. Then we have certain some international locations as well. And our head office is in Worli, Mumbai. So we have about like 6,000-7,000 workforce working with the company. And I think, like I said, generation, transformation, distribution, and generally motion. That's where our portfolio is. Okay, so with that, I think let's get into the topic. Building an agile and nimble organization. Now, this is a huge topic, honestly speaking. And you will see variety of case studies and books written on this, a lot of examples. There's a book called Even Elephant Can Dance. So a lot of stories of these big giants, so quite frankly, there's so much out there. So I was wondering what can I talk about it? And I'm sure you also must have, got a sense about this from other speakers and from other industry experts. So what I decided to do is to pick up a very grounded approach. And very simple thoughts, very practical, something which I have gone through in my career and something which you can relate to, something you may face, in your career. And that is what I thought, I'll pick up and talk in a very simple manner, very grounded manner, right? So don't expect whole lot of complex theory coming out of this or concepts coming out of this, So I'm going to keep it very simple and limited to the experience which I have gone through. Okay, so you all please be with me through this session. By the way, you can stop me, you can ask me a question, you can, offer a counter argument or a perspective, whichever way you feel appropriate. All right, so moving on. So what has changed around us? If you really see what has really changed around us, and I want somebody to tell me what this chart means. So to the moderator, participants can open their line, correct? And then they can talk about it, correct? Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. So
Yeah.
I request the people, they can unmute and they can answer.
Right. So I will like to quickly invite, at least some perspectives in terms of what does this chart mean? What is this chart telling us?
More platform-based businesses have started in the digital world.
Right. Fantastic observation. Very good.
Hello,
Very
so
good.
this is Parth.
Yeah,
I
Parth.
agree to exactly what she said. It is a change from individual brands to more of aggregators that have come up. Platforms.
Right. Oh, that's also a good observation. Yes. Okay. Anyone else?
Sir,
Yeah.
here. The other thing is, in the 2000s, we can observe that most of these companies are have some sort of grounding in brick and mortar based businesses. And whereas these are more the companies that are recognizable now, these are the big brands. That is, they are all mostly software or platform based, and they offer services rather than any tangible product.
Right.
And
Okay.
adding to that, for example, Myntra is completely operating on software platform based itself.
Yeah, I think I got that. I got that. I think all three of you said the same thing. Something else that you pick up from this chart.
Sir, these are all, most of them are new startups, which is happening from last 10 to 12 years. Myntra, Zomato, even Instagram, these are built by young entrepreneurs in last 10 years. They are moving from the traditional family-oriented business to new age businesses done by people.
Okay, what else?
Sir, Rishabh this side. Sir, in the company that you've shown on the right side, they've grown multifold within a very short span of time.
Right. Okay.
Where
Good.
that was not the case earlier.
Okay. I think Savik raised hand. Yes, Savik.
Hello, sir. So I believe since we are discussing and the companies on the right hand side are platform based, they can continuously evolve very quickly. Like we know when we use agile, we can continuously develop our platform. While on the left hand side, we have the companies which have very tangible products and they take comparatively more time to evolve.
Okay. Okay, what else?
So Vanshdeep here.
Yes.
In today's scenario in 2023, we can see more of service-based companies as compared to the previous time, that is in 2000.
Okay.
So Anukriti here. What I noticed is that in 2000s we had some conventional companies which used to release the products and consumers are bound to use those products. But if you see the recent transition, like someone said about the platform based, it's more driven by the on demand from the consumer side.
Good
So
observation.
these,
Very
yeah.
good observation.
So Raghib here.
Yeah.
On the right hand side in 2023, we see most of the companies, they offer services on the customer's time. Whenever we need the services, let's suppose I want to watch a movie, I can go and watch it on Netflix as per my timing. I don't have to wait for the movie to be telecasted on a TV as per the time of.
Okay.
So,
We'll take one, two more and then go ahead. Yeah.
Hi, sir.
Hello.
Nitish here. In 2023, we can see most of the companies are network based.
Okay. All right. Next.
sir, over the year of 23 years, I would say the utility of
go ahead.
people have increased on a very different manner. Hello, am I audible, sir?
Yeah, you are, Saket.
Yeah, so from 2000 to 23, if you see, and the span of 23 years, the utility of the people have changed drastically, and therefore the market share also. The earlier in 2000, we could see that these companies used to have a market share, but now we have seen a new companies with a very different utility taking over the market share, and that is what is the trend showing that in the next coming 20 years there would be another trend of changes in utility.
Got it. Okay.
Sir, the companies on the right, am I audible?
Yeah, Shan, you are.
Yeah. So the companies on the right, the human resource that they use are not predominantly theirs. For example, Myntra uses delivery as their delivery partner, and so is Nykaa. And if we go into Netflix, they have certain actors that are not paid on their on Netflix paychecks. So their agility in terms of human resource is quite different if we compare it to the companies on the right, on the left, such as Coca-Cola and Nokia and Microsoft, which were paying their employees to make the products.
Yeah, good observation. Very good observation. Yes.
Sir, one more point. Companies on the right are more focusing right now on the individual level, individual customer, and the companies on the left were focusing on the whole segment, a particular segment.
Right.
Now the focus has shifted to individual customer experience.
Correct. Good. Yeah. Who else?
Sir, there is also observation like we can find a common ground where the companies in 2023, they are heavily data driven and they heavily rely on data from the consumers to improve their offerings as per the demand.
Super, good. All right. So, yeah, Malika, you are not audible, Malika. You're saying something, but you're. No, I think we can't hear you.
Malika, we can't hear you. You're on mute, Malika.
No, even if you remove, no, it's still the icon is showing as mute.
Malika, in case your microphone is not working, please type the question in the chat box.
Yes. So Ajay, maybe you want to go ahead in the meantime.
Hello.
Ajay, you can go ahead.
Good morning. So am I audible?
Yes.
Sir, one thing I would like to add is in 2000s and nearly in 2010, most of the industries are American or other players that are being developed. In 2023, we can see out of the 4 brands, there are 3 brands that represent India in that case.
Wait. You say again what you say?
But in 2000s, I think so most of the industries that are presented on the screen are American or other developed brands of the other countries. Whereas in 2023, moving ahead, there are companies which are more of Indian, like Zomato, Nykaa, and
Okay. All right. Rohit?
Yeah, hello, sir. Rohit this side. So what I can also observe is that many of the companies are going towards the revenue model of subscription-based revenue model, while the earlier companies they had this
right.
product, and they have moving towards servitizing their offerings.
Sure. Okay, so I think I will draw your attention to something else. You all talked about what has changed, right? We moved from, let's say, product to more like services, or kind of solutions, or kind of options that are created, and the flexibility has gone up, right? Earlier you had to go and buy something, now it's delivered at your doorstep, whether it is in a physical form, whether it is in virtual form, but you can choose what you want at a price which perhaps you can kind of control or at least choose from. And I think that has changed. So that's and platform technology, software, I heard all of that. I think one more important thing for you all to notice over here, which is more like a subtle, and it's not standing out, because the chart has been depicted that way, that, you will see some companies have really sustained, okay, and have evolved and have changed over a period of time, while some companies don't even exist, right? You can see that from this, you can see that.
Nokia.
Coca-Cola is still there. Definitely it is there. And if you really, go into the history, brand, how it has evolved, this and that, advertising, and you will find the answers. So that's how it is. But something like a coffee, Starbucks coming up, and then they showed the world that, okay, coffee can also be branded in a way that it becomes more of a matter of, kind of pride and fashion. And okay, I'm going to go to Starbucks. I'm going to buy their merchandise to that extent, correct? So that was created. And then Starbucks kind of sustained and will continue to perhaps sustain, right? Amazon, we all know how it has evolved over a period of time. Google, we all, Hotmail has, kind of gone past, but, what this other thing, other emails like Gmail and Yahoo and all those things have stayed, right? So there is definitely something in it that these companies have sustained, correct? That their importance, they've retained their market share, they continue to remain relevant. Microsoft continue to remain relevant, right? For whatever number of years they have been into. If you take car example, Toyota has continued to remain, very, very relevant, right? And today also they command and control a significant, market share, right? And whereas, there was something called as Yahoo Messenger, right? Yahoo Messenger, that died very quickly and WhatsApp took over, So quite frankly, things have changed. Fundamentals have perhaps remained same, but these companies were wanted to offer the same value or services or experience of products, which some of these companies on the right-hand side you see are offering, but they lack something. They lack responding, they lack anticipating, they lack market study, they really lack innovation, they lack whatever, so many things they might have lacked. So what we're talking about here is some of the companies are able to retain that, and some companies have not been able to retain that. And there will always be something new, which never existed before. Netflix never existed before. We never thought that an OTT platform will change our habit to an extent that we will never, kind of need to go to, a theater, right? It provides exactly similar same experience to you at your home, right? So I think there is a lot to pick up from this chart. The key message here is that some companies which will always be able to sustain and evolve, whereas some companies will not. And that is about being agile and nimble, right? So there were so many forces, around all of us, but some companies still sustain, right, over a period of time. And I'm sure lockdown, when it opened, the first thing that we did, all of us, we went to Starbucks, right? So Starbucks kind of never died. The restaurant industry, we all thought is gone, and we will all continue to have food at home. But no, we keep going out. Now we are spending double. We keep going out on weekends and keep ordering food at home during the weekdays, right? So these disruptions, still some companies and some businesses have sustained. That's the key. So what is in it, quite frankly, for them, and that's a matter of study. So moving on, all of you. So I don't know how many of you really know, because most of you are very young. How many of you really know that Wipro actually was originally, dalda making company, right? Sunflower, oil making company, right? And you see how it has evolved into a software company, right? A IT company. And then in between, they also did lighting. They started lighting. There's tons of companies in India like that, Godrej for that matter, right? You're saying something? No, I think, okay. So if you really see, there are so many companies you will see like this, those who evolved, in terms of they retain their brand name, but they really evolved in terms of their business model, in terms of their offering. They remained relevant, not only remained relevant, but they also kind of became market leader into whatever space they went into, right? And there is a lot to study, from some of these companies and how they, could really stay agile and stay, nimble. And I have picked up some thoughts from a couple of companies, that I worked with, in the past, or I know about those companies. So which we'll talk about, that particular part later. But I'm going to bring this focus, very high level, very broad based, or very abstract focus to something specific. Being agile and nimble is not only about, is not only about continuing to evolve, but also to respond, to situations that we all face, right? And situations can come in different forms and shape. It can come in the form of COVID. It can come in the form of competition. It can come in the form of technological disruption. It can come in the form of economy, crashing down, cash. It can come in any form. So how do really companies respond? And when you have to respond, what are the barriers, for that response which you choose, right? So here is one chart, and again, we'll have some quick discussion around it. What is really easy to move relatively, right? And this chart may not be exhaustive. You can add items to the left-hand side list or, right-hand side list as well. But what is easy to move? And traditional, business model you all have learned, right? Man, machine, method, materials, right? So these are relatively easy to move, right? Man, you can restructure. We all are familiar with layoffs, hiring, this, that, ramping up, ramping down. We all know about the concept, right? And companies are fairly quick in responding into that. The second part is machine. Earlier it used to take a lot of time for them to kind of build the kind of machinery that we wanted. And then you used to look at, the life of machinery, payback period, everything. But that world has also become relatively, kind of simple now, that you can move fairly quickly. You can change your machinery, bring in new technology and all of that. Third is obviously method. So with so much, software innovation that is available, processes are becoming quick. So you can adopt to whatever method, 3D printing for that matter. So many things are, evolving at a very fast pace. So that is available, that can be changed. Materials can, again be changed, and technology. So these are the things in companies, life can change very easily. But what cannot be changed, and what is very, very difficult to change, is culture. What is in it your DNA? What is in it your, kind of blood? What are your beliefs? What are your ethos? I think it's very difficult for companies to change. And therefore you'll see, many acquisitions or business model, they fail, those who are not able to really kind of build a very, very strong culture within them. Whereas some companies, like for example, if I ask you Wipro, what is it really known for? Okay, and Wipro, usually you will see that people will talk about two things beyond, their innovation and their market share. They will talk about the integrity as a value, right? That company and people and the promoters and the management demonstrates. And second thing, that they will stand out for their, corporate social responsibility. Likewise, you look at Tata's, likewise, you look at Infosys, right? They will constantly, convey and their value in terms of their culture and not in terms of the success of their products and technology, right? So I think that is a very fundamental thing that you all must note. Second is the mindset. I think that is another very, very important element, because if you get stuck, and there's a wonderful, series which CNBC 18 had, published sometime back. I think that was in early 2000 or something like that. And there were a lot of interviews of some of these big industrialists and successful industrialists. And there is an interview of Mr. Rahul Bajaj. If you happen to get hold of some of those recordings, you can find, that on internet. And what Rahul Bajaj had said, that very quickly I realized that there is a lot of market in the bike segment. And he talked about how that mindset change has happened, for himself and for the company, and moving away from the three-wheeler segment and a scooter kind of segment to a very modern, bike. And we all know now they are into, the top-notch, biking segment as well. So I think that is another important element. It requires a lot of, kind of effort to change your mindset and see yourself from a Vanaspati oil making, right? It is not just, about diversifying into anything and everything, but it is just your ability and willingness to see, that change happening within yourself. Third is, I think, habit. And many industries have kind of failed to change the habits, the way they do business, for that matter. And I think, we all know, now there were cab companies like Meru, right? I don't know how many of you have really heard about, Meru Cab. They were not successful. And there were tons of, cab companies which were not successful. It's because they didn't want to change the habit. They didn't want to really align to what is changing. Now you have Uber and Ola on your app. And that has changed, quite a lot around us. So you need to change your habits based on the habits that consumers are changing for themselves. I think that's another important part. Orientation, like your worldview, of things, is again another very important element. How do you see the world around you as, and how quickly you're, comfortable in responding. And then, there has to be certain amount of discipline in your DNA. For example, if you anytime you hear, Mr. Narayan Murthy talking about, and he says, I'm not going to leave my fundamental principles. TCS has gone back to their work from office model. They're facing some attrition, right? That story you all must be following or must have read. Women, and there was a lot of kind of, sensitivity created that a lot of women are leaving TCS because TCS has, changed the policy, work from home policy and whatnot. But I think that discipline, whichever company has, Twitter for that matter, Elon Musk, he has very strongly talked about, work from office or workforce discipline, how many hours you have to put. These are all fancy companies, right? Frankly speaking, Tesla and all, they can say that, okay, no, now we are 100% work from home and those kind of things, but they're sticking to their principles. They're sticking to their discipline. And I'm going to take this discipline thing one step beyond, because I have seen companies like Danaher, Emerson, Murugappa Group, they're sticking to their grounds because strong fundamentals in place in terms of how they are managing business, their performance ethic, their business ethics, and their management processes. That is what I'm talking about in terms of discipline. So, so these are the 5 things which are extremely difficult. And from this group, I'm not I don't know whether how to spell your name. Andrila? Hey, Andrila,
Yes, sir.
my request to you is you switch off your video because you're constantly talking to somebody else, and that is kind of distracting. So you can switch off your video and you can carry on with your conversation, so that it will not distract me. Okay.
We are very sorry for that, sir.
No worries. People will
So
have.
sorry, actually, sir, I'm one of the executive committee members, and some people are having internet issues from my batch. So I was just handling that simultaneously so that
No
it doesn't
problem. You
disturb
can
you. I'm so
pause
sorry.
whenever you want, but otherwise it will become little.
Sure, I understand, sir.
All right. Okay. So, and I have been myself backbencher, so I don't really, worry too much about if people are not attending. It doesn't matter to me. Those who are interested, they will attend. All right. So, and stay with this word called, discipline, because that is what you will experience as you move forward and you start working with global companies. Now, why these 5 things I have chosen to bring up, on this particular chart, which are extremely subjective, which are extremely abstract. Reason number 1 is I have seen this myself in every company that I have worked with. And whenever we happen to kind of face or encounter a change, I have seen this coming in the way. That's number 1. At the same time, I have seen these becoming your very strong levers, that will help you to really grow, out of a particular situation. And number 3 is most of you, all of you, are going to become, general managers, P&L owners, business leaders. And your orientation is not going to be limited to HR or a particular, kind of function of a business, but overall, business. And when you talk about overall business, you will find many people, those who are expert on the areas that are listed on the left-hand side, man, machine, method, material, technology. You will find experts. You will not find people who can do this job for you of culture, mindset, habit, orientation, discipline. This list, again, I'm saying, is very limited based on my own understanding. This can be an exhaustive list. This is something which you are going to own. And this is something which is extremely important when you really want to drive a change within your organization, right? Okay, I'll give you one more example. When early, kind of 2000, I was working with Veroc, and we had a lot of plastic molding machines, and very high-tech machines for that matter. So there's a discussion about, putting robots, on those machines for changing the jobs and for, kind of ensuring that we are consistent and highly productive. And since that, I've seen how this company has changed over a period of time. So although we knew that there is something that can be done, that was not adopted as widely as we thought we would adopt, right? So there are things on the left-hand side which you can, very easily get solutions about. On the right-hand side, you will have to work on yourself and really set your benchmark very high, so you can prepare your organization for the challenges and the opportunities which will come on the way. That is what it really means. And now let's jump into, the case study. This is something, which I had shared with you all yesterday. So, and I'm sure you all must have gone through. I don't know how you really went about, whether it was in the group or whether it was individually. How you all went about it?
Individually, sir.
Oh, individually. Okay. So maybe we can spend 5-10 minutes time to kind of hear your thoughts. And I'm not going to give you any insight into the actual situation. We'll first talk, and then I will actually talk about the actual situation and how we went about it. This particular situation happened for my company in 2013, right? And this is a real life example, which I'm sharing with you. So, all right. So I want to hear your thoughts first, and I'm sure, by the way, wherever I have presented this, in earlier, management and B schools, I've not shared with too many, but I've shared with, B schools comparable to XLR, and I've got fantastic, insights. And maybe I got insights that we could have handled it better, by the way. So over to you.
So
People
do we
can,
talk about,
Hey, whichever way moderator has to control this, please go ahead and control it.
Sure, sir. So I would request the people to unmute themselves one by one and then ask the question.
yeah, sir, this is Rohit. So do we, can we ask questions or do we give our
No, you
recommendation?
give your answers.
What is our
Let me ask
understanding?
questions when I, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so sir, I mean,
Sorry, but if you feel that your question is going to help you to articulate your answer better, you can ask.
Yes, sir. So actually, if I mean, this is relating to this the CG company, right? So I wanted to know.
Not necessarily. One of the company that I worked with.
Okay, sir. One of the question was that has there been any external economic environment change, severe change in that economic environment that led to this shrink?
Yes, there was an external environment where most of the projects, big projects, infrastructure projects in the country were being put on the back burner.
Okay. And sir, what are the components of the variable cost of this company?
What are the component of variable costs of this company? Okay, so that answer is not here, but you can make any assumption that you want.
Okay, sir. And sir, does this company depend upon its sub-vendors as part of its supply chain?
Any company, like any company, it does.
And sir, last question, sir, what was the share of the marketing expense in the previous years?
So more than marketing expense, I would let us assume let us look at it from manpower perspective. Like I said, 10% people are focused on marketing initiative. That value of marketing expenditure doesn't really matter.
Yes.
So you can make whatever assumption, it will not matter over here in this particular case.
Okay.
And I will tell you why it will not matter.
Yes, sir. I think I'll just take 2 minutes, sir. Then maybe I can give, yeah.
Then you can come back. Okay.
Sure.
Who wants to go next?
Hi, sir, Atul here.
Yes, Atul.
Sir, I guess because the variable cost they have targeted to increase 10%, but the growth is not happening at the same rate. So the cost optimization measures, they can basically check that to increase the variable cost in a basically phase-wise manner, not giving the variable cost immediately increase one capex kind of thing.
So you will basically control your variable cost.
Variable cost, sir.
Investments. Okay.
Yes,
Got
sir.
it. Okay.
I've worked in automotive companies. Usually, sir, when we implement the variable cost, if there's something happen, growth doesn't happen, we stop the capex. We give it, but we give it in a step manner. We don't give it in a one flat shot.
That's pretty straightforward. Yes.
Yes, sir. And the second thing, sir, is the basically to retention, sir. Basically, we create the transparency with the employees. Basically, inform them about the situation of the company so that they build a trust with us. And this will not ensure all the employees will basically stay, but it will make at least those who are basically associated with the company for longer period of time will stay because they have seen such challenges. So be transparent with the employees. Tell them in the town hall that what is the situation and how we are trying to overcome that situation. So another thing is the growth is stopped, sir. So the marketing 10% on the activities. So we have to basically enhance the marketing activities. Maybe put more resources on marketing activities so that we can able to capture the new areas. Another thing is market condition assessment also, whether we are focusing on the wrong basically places where there's no growth opportunities on, or rather than focus on the products where the growth opportunities are there. So you have to check that also as well and work towards that. So this is what I can able to contemplate from this case study.
All right,
Thank
got
you.
it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Atul. Good point.
You can go ahead with the question.
Yes. Thank you so much. Actually, sir, you gave a nice hint to us in the form that the 40% employees which are working on large projects are actually not giving us a lot of output because of an external environment. So my first focus would be to probably invest this 10% increase in the variable cost in some kind of a market research where I can try to find out that which part of the industry can actually help me sustain the existing sales. So that I can reallocate, especially this 40% of my sales force, which was working on the large projects, to probably on the quick ship or the indirect sales. Secondly, I feel that we have a lot of employees working, that's 40 employees in the administrative functions. If we can use them in some way to especially get a feedback on the existing market, as in how things are going on for the present customers, because for the past 10 years, we've been having a very good growth. So what are the factors, firstly, to find out? So through a market research as well as from the existing customers. Secondly, you also already mentioned that about 40% of my sales force that was focusing on large projects is not on the right track because of an external environment. So I'll probably use their expertise somewhere else and try to do that. Secondly, as the company has told us to maintain the profitability, and I'm increasing 10% of my variable costs. So I'll try to see which markets I can actually earn a little bit more. So I'll try to focus there, put efforts where I can increase the pricing a little bit to kind of offset the loss in sales.
Fantastic.
So,
Very good.
yes.
Very good.
So that would be how I would approach the problem.
Fantastic. Great answer, Parth. Yes, who wants to go next?
So next is Rohit.
Yes,
Yes,
sir. Sir, before I start with my recommendations or probably my suggested solution, so just one question, sir. We are seeing that the company is growing at 20% CAGR for last 10 years. So was there any reason to cut down the current year growth to 18% instead of maybe targeting even a higher CAGR?
Okay, so maybe see if you see the difference is not too much, right? 20 to 18. It's kind of it's kind of fair to make that assumption, right? It doesn't mean that every year you continue to increase your CAGR. But the point here is it is still double digit. It's still close to what you have been, kind of doing. So let's keep that discount over there,
Okay. Yeah, sir. So what I would come up with is that we will definitely have to reduce the cost so that we can try to meet our profitability targets. So few of the cost reduction measures that I have is that you can definitely we should freeze hiring if there is any plans to do so, and stop any growth or expansion activities in the industry that we are seeing the degrowth.
Right.
The second point is that we need to identify new and alternative revenue streams. The 10% increase the budget that we have, we can, as one of my friends suggested, that we could invest it in market research and find new and alternative revenue streams for the company that may be core or non-core activity. Then
just a word there, when we say market research, we have to also be a little careful about the situation. When you are in a kind of emergency mode, crisis situation, you may not have luxury of time, resources to be invested into marketing research. Just a thought, right? Unless you have something internally available which can quickly respond and get moving. But just a thought. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. So the third is obviously some internal cost cuttings, which is improving or exploring avenues for improving the work process that can save cost in terms of maybe man hours. And then since we are dependent upon a lot of our sub vendors, so we can start negotiating with our suppliers to get a better deals from them to cut cost on that part. And then we should also try to look at cutting down some marketing expense, although that may not be a big chunk of the cost. Then one is that cutting down the administrative expenses, and the last two, measures that I would suggest is that giving furloughs to some of the highest paying employees. Furloughs is like non-paid leaves. That is just for 3 days a month for the entire year. And then as a one last measure is that the senior leadership, the CXO level employees taking some fair salary cuts. So I'm not touching my employees per se, and I'm trying to reduce the cost through different measures, as I said.
Got it. Got it. Very good. Thanks. Thanks, Rohit. Who wants to go next?
Manorama, you can go next.
Hello, sir. Good morning.
Morning, Manorama.
So my answer is kind of similar to Parth. There are 3 points that which I want to say. First one is variable cost. It is mentioned that we have done a 10% increase in our variable cost. So we need a detailed analysis of that. The changes we made in our cost is going to deliver results when there should be some short-term and long-term results. And as we need to focus on our current growth, so we could see what kind of expense is going to give us good result in short term, and accordingly we can allocate our resources. The second point is like 40% focus on the large projects. Large projects give results a little later. So if we shift our 10% of workforce from them to quick ship or indirect sales, which can help better in getting the near results. So we can do that. And third one is apart from laying off, we can go for salary cut, because economic meltdown is everywhere. So with salary cut, we can retain our employees.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Manorama. Good.
Yes.
Very good answers.
Yes, sir. So next is Anukriti. Anukriti, you can unmute.
Yeah, so pretty much I think there is an overlap with the answers what my batchmates have given. But I think to start with, what I will probably start looking at is that there is one statement about the first quarter of the current year has a flat year-on-year growth. So I would start my analysis with assessing what has led to this flat growth.
Fantastic. Very good. I'm happy you said that.
Thank you. So before doing any suggestions or analysis, I'll just start with the assessing. Has anything changed in the market, or has anything changed within our company that has led to this flat growth? And once I have this analysis and the drivers which led to this growth, then I will probably go towards the cost optimization, because we have mentioned in the case that there is a increase in the variable cost. So we will have to probably visit our cost structure and see where all and which all areas we can probably optimize our cost. And the third suggestion with respect to the employees, because we have to retain our employees and we might not be able to give a lot of monetary benefits, we can think of some alternatives to reward and recognize the employees. The non-monetary values, such as some recognition awards or some other incentives, some career development opportunities. So those kind of things can be taken care towards the employee benefit side. And probably the last one, what I thought of is the resource allocation. Because if you see 40% focus is on the large projects and 20% focus on the quick ship. So if we sort of reallocate our resources, like putting more employees towards the large projects so that we can generate more revenue, and that will lead to more profitability at the end. So I think that will help us handle some sort of revenue that will help us generate more revenue from the company perspective. So these 3-4 suggestions from my end.
Absolutely, Anukriti. I think you're absolutely spot on. You nailed it. Very good. Thank you.
So next is Dibaspati. Dibaspati, you can unmute.
I think Balakrishnan in the chat box is kind of supporting Anukriti's point, and he's also saying that the percentage and strategy for Q3 and Q4 also needs to be reassessed, which is absolutely correct. Okay, go ahead. Now, who's the next?
Dibaspati.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, Dibaspati.
Sir, so most of the points are covered by my batchmates, what I was thinking prior. Just one point to add. So as it is mentioned that in the first quarter, there's been a flat year-on-year growth with comparison to the last year. And in the quarter two of the first month also, we are seeing a degrowth. So I think, sir, sometimes in my last organization, I observed that at times there are some seasonal spikes in upwards sales or
Yeah, there are correct.
sort of degrowth. So sometimes what happens is if we see over a long term, it averages out. So I think if I were to see it, I would wait for some time in the quarter two, let's say till the end of quarter two. Okay, apart from looking at the measures of how to control
Which company you work with, Devaspati?
Amazon.
Okay, okay.
So, sir, what happened?
So I just want to make a very clear point here for everybody's understanding. Okay, and Devaspati, I don't think we will be as lucky as think we would be. This approach is nowhere, without an exception, is accepted. Wait and watch is never done in the corporate world, right? We live by quarter by quarter, and for us, this quarter, previous quarter, next quarter is the reality, right? So, and then my suggestion is, and by the way, why I'm not picking on you. I'm just picking on something which I have experienced in my career earlier, and that is of a significant value for all of you. I have seen and then worked with a leader who was highly optimistic, like you, Devaspat. He said that it could be cyclic, it will go off, no need to worry. Let's wait and watch. Let's wait for 1 quarter, 2 quarters. No, it doesn't work like that. So that wait and watch optimism, or so to say, kind of denial in a way, not denial per se, but in a way, doesn't work. So let's just be very careful about that approach. All right. So
yes,
that's an important thought. Okay, good. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so I understood what you said, sir. But in their marketplaces, they have those Prime Day, Thanksgiving, all those activities, which garner a lot of spikes, and then there are 2-3 months of
Frankly
price
speaking, you have to also understand what is your business model. If your business model and if your business is cyclic in nature, I can understand. But then how do you build that flexibility to accommodate the variability in your business planning process? That's more important rather than wait and watch. You're getting my point? If you are expecting a downturn, if the downturn was expected or anticipated, it doesn't matter. But if it is not, then you can't hope for things to turn around in a better way unless you do something about it. Okay, that's what I meant.
Got it.
Superb. Next.
So before taking the next guy, we have an information in the chat. Malika actually has some mic issues and she has written something in the chat box.
Okay.
So her strategies are agreed with most of my colleagues. Wanted to add to this. Assess the current scenario and its impact on the organization across functions. Reevaluate the sales strategy end to end. Check the feasibility product market diversification at later stage. Optimizing the current cost structure through cost control and boost employee morale and provide non-monetary rewards for retention. So this is what Malika is doing.
I completely agree. I think in a nutshell, she's saying, perhaps most of it what others have said, but yeah, very crisp and very well articulated. Very good. Thank you, Malika. Malika, just a suggestion for you. If you have connected through, hands-free, then you can remove that. Then perhaps sometimes audio doesn't come through when you are connected through a, hands-free device. Okay, next.
So next is Raghib.
So my suggestion is, if something is covered already, don't talk about that. Just if there is something new, let's talk about it so that we can, manage our time more efficiently.
Sure, sir. Good morning, sir. As per the given problem, I would like to identify the sectors that are driving the degrowth for our company. Like you informed that the large projects are sluggish over here. So Parth has already stated this, that we will be allocating the resources from the large projects to the projects that are having growth. So I would like to identify the segments in our particular company that are having a growth, and From there, what I can do, I will do a resource allocations. I will put the manpower, the salespeople to the growth sectors. And I can also bring in incentives for the people where we are seeing a growth. Let's suppose out of the four, we have a 4 segment in our company, large projects, small projects, and something like that. So if the small projects are running good and there is a growth, there's a scope of growth over there, I can incentivize people over there to bring in more sales.
Right. So I think be careful on that front, because end of the day, business is not about incentives and money alone. Right. When let's say you have you are 3 siblings, okay, and your father says, now we are in a difficult situation, I'm going to give more food or more incentive, more kind of flexibility to the one who is earning more, and not feed others. So I think the whole incentivizing idea in a crisis situation is a very bad idea. Okay, because that is where you will hit them, where they quite frankly, you will disengage them very, very quickly. So think about it.
Okay, so taking a note of that.
Incentive should be paid when everybody can earn. Incentive is not to create competition. There's a wonderful book which is written by Alfred Kohn, very different book, which is on punished by rewards. And he basically talks about school children and how we have created competition among children, by rating them, or giving them, grades, and how that idea is very bad and doesn't really drive the performance. It does adverse effect. Slightly different conversation, but as a leader, I think you must all think that what is the most sensible approach to take in all of these, in these kind of situations when we all are extremely good at handling business. What I'm really kind of touched with everybody, what you said, there was an element of empathy over there, right? That was almost reflecting, although some of you said, some of you didn't say, but there was an element of empathy that how do we really retain our people, right? And that's very important. So my suggestion is that this whole incentive business in a crisis situation doesn't necessarily work.
Okay, so take a note of that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, next.
So next is Deepak. Deepak, you can unmute.
Hello, good morning, sir. Sir, in addition to what all my friends suggested, I would like to touch upon one more thing. So these people, 20% in quick shape, 30% in indirect sale. So the company can approach them to see what are the growth avenues available in their perspective. Because previously 40% are engaged in large projects. So it might be possible that these additional avenues company is not taken care of, and might be it is engaged in its capability in much larger projects. But now that we have underutilized manpower in larger projects, so we can get in touch with these segments to explore new avenues, what these people have in their mind, and we can divert the people from large project segment to these segments to cash on these new avenues.
Yes, very good, very good. Okay, so who wants to go next?
Abhinav, you go next.
Let's just choose what is really distinct and different than what is being said so far, so that we can save on time. I think we can spend another 2-3 minutes on this, not more than that.
Hello.
So please,
Hello,
please.
am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. This is Abhinav. I have worked in Tata Motors across functions like operations and sales and marketing. So I'll just give you a few options and few levers by which we can solve these cases. First of all, profitability is a driver by revenue and costs. So I will suggest few ways out for increasing the revenue. For example, large projects, we can leverage corporate partnerships to increase the sales numbers. Then we can leverage our broker network and channel partner network, and also meet the existing customers for referrals, so that the sales can increase from that segment. For marketing activities, we can actually make a matrix based on our existing volumes and market shares. In high volume and high market share, we could go and leverage the existing customer network, meet with existing customers, generate referrals. For low market share and high volume, we can increase our brand awareness activities and meet the competition customers. In case of low volume and low market share, we can increase the field marketing. And in case of low volume and high market share, we can increase the service touch points for our customers. And on the part of cost, for example, quick ship lever, we can optimize our delivery time and also train our salespeople on conducting Kaizen activities, that is to say, continuous improvement for cost reduction by value stream mapping of the logistics. And also we can have alternate vendors. Since we have been into the business for the last 10 years, we would have a good relationship development with the vendors for logistics. We can negotiate it. We could have a negotiation with them for the cost, for the time being, so that our cost can be reduced.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Thanks. Good thoughts. Yes.
Yes, sir. So Rishikesh goes next. And I would request people to only give unique points that have not been discussed.
Correct. Yeah, that would help.
So before I go, I want to ask a question. Are we talking about Emerson and the US shale oil boom situation right now?
I think that's not important. Like I said, that's not really important. You can make your assumption.
Okay. So, I mean, given the time period, I will assume that. I will say, I just add on to what has been given there, what especially Anukriti said, that we have to analyze it and we have to look at it from 2 points of view. One is the short term, so that we can ensure profitability for this year, and then the market research can be done on a phased basis for the long term to understand if the market is really going to shift under us, and so that we are not left to the lurch. So, okay. Coming to short term, cost cutting would be the easiest option. And for cost cutting, I guess we have to approach it from a procurement perspective to see which are the biggest purchase spends, and then start working on opportunities there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think most of them. Yeah.
From the HR perspective, I'd give my point is that we should not go for furloughs as a principle, because we haven't. And furloughs or say firings to save money.
Okay.
Because it is a part of the company that people are not fired for because the company is in an economic downturn.
Yeah, and you are bringing an important point, and these are some of the dilemmas that all of us are going to face. Okay, and I'm not saying what is right or what is wrong. Okay, because what works for your industry, to your situation, to your culture, to your environment, that is the most sensible approach to take. But these are the dilemmas that you're going to face. Whether I should announce furloughs, not furloughs, whether I should, take a salary cut, who takes salary cut, how much, whether it is permanent, temporary, whether we, kind of delay, your increments or let go of some people. Those are all approaches, or in what way I can do cost cutting. So I think these are all approaches which will be unique to your, company, to your situation. But these are the dilemmas which you're going to face, right? So think through it properly and then pick up what is most appropriate, for you at that point of time, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So okay, I think you summarized the rest of what I wanted to say, which is that we instead go for maybe a freeze on bonuses and increments, instead of going for a furlough,
right?
And work on cost cutting strategies. That's
okay. Okay, good. Next.
So next is Bala. Bala, please be precise.
Hi, sir. So I just want to add 2 points of sales and HR in addition to Path and Malika and Anukriti's point. So a brief background. So I come from a valve manufacturing business. So my inferences are largely based on this. So now when we talk about large projects, typically a large project has a large volume, a lot of negotiation, very low margins. And when we talk about quick ship, it's the reverse. We have large margins, but the quantities are quite low. Also, when COVID hit us in our business, it's the large volumes that in the pipeline that sort of really pushed it along for us. And even though we were not getting new orders, it's the large projects in the pipeline that kept us going, right? So I would actually do two things. One, I would focus more on large projects as compared to quick ship, as opposed to what Deepak had said some time back. Because if we have more large projects, if we have more volumes in our pipeline, it keeps our business going, pushing forward.
But you will not have money, to run your business day to day.
No, so the money will come from the projects that are there in the pipeline.
All right. Which company you work with?
So I had a family business. We worked in the manufacturing of industrial valves.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And the second thing would be with respect to HR. I would, I mean, it's kind of a mix of HR and sales. So I would, so we worked on a dealership model. So what we did is we would train our dealers on our particular product so that they could eventually sell it better. So I would do that same thing here. I would train the dealers or the channel partners who would eventually sell it to the end customers, which would indirectly boost our sales. So these are the 2 points that I would personally add.
All right. Okay. Okay. Who wants to go next? And then I think let's take only one more and then stop. Is that okay?
Sure. So we'll take only one more. And the next speaker is Saket. So Saket, you can unmute yourself.
And if it is only Saket and Rakshit, then we can take both.
Sure. Then we can have Rakshit also. So Saket, please unmute yourself.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for the opportunity. So, like, sir, most of the points have been covered, but I specifically, if I see, I agree with that the profitability should be access to revenue streams and costs. And one thing I would like to see, so the revenue would be driven by demand and demand. So if you look at demand, if the demand is constant, then with that there might be a problem with the trade receivables. Like a lot of our vendors would have not paid us tax. So that is one thing where I would see whether the actual revenue is coming back or not. And the second thing, if the demand is actually gone down, then like the marketing initiative would be there to increase the demand. So that is one thing where I would pull the first lever.
Okay.
Second would be obviously the cost, which my friends have discussed, like looking for substitutes for the raw materials. If the raw material cost is very high due to certain demand fluctuations in the market, then I would try to look for substitutes. And also not only raw materials, but also with the utilities. So unless I have pulled all my levers for revenues and costs and other admin costs, then only I will try to find some other ways regarding the restructuring, because the company has never done restructuring.
All right. Okay, good. Rakshit?
Yeah, thank you, sir. So I'll just add to what my friends have said. Already the company is $500 million and we're looking at 18% growth. So no matter how much we try to do cost savings measures, it's always going to show up in the P&L instantaneously. It's not going to meet the target. That's one thing. Second thing that I can read here is there are some headwinds because of which we are anticipating degrowth of 8%.
Yes.
Right. But at the same time, since the management is asking you to maintain the profitability case, right? So definitely there are pockets or areas where you could have tailwinds as well. So it's important to identify those sectors and channelize your resources based on what my colleagues have said, right? And go about it.
Precisely. Good.
Thank you.
All right. So thanks. I think then we'll have to move on, right? So those who are not speaking, obviously type your responses or questions into the chat box. And then we'll definitely take a look at it. So I will then, most of you, what you said is kind of correct, with the kind of perspective that you have shared and with kind of understanding that you shared. I'm really impressed the way you have been able to kind of crack it very, very well. I would say most of or all of your thoughts are very, very relevant. Okay, one thing I want you to kind of think and keep in mind all the time, that it is always situational, right? You can pick up some learnings from one experience and look at them, okay, how this applies to the new situation, and then go ahead and apply or tweak or improvise on. and then apply this. That's the approach. And also look at the degree in which, you want to go about it, right? For example, if you want to hold on to a very strict assumption that I don't want to restructure people, you're not going to go anywhere. You need to think in mind that, okay, where are the pocket of opportunities for me to restructure some of the stuff? There could be some high cost, there could be some non-productive, there could be a lot of things, right? So don't close your mind on a particular idea. Second, let's say, for example, somebody said, okay, no furloughs at all. No, you can say that we will evaluate. You have to prioritize what will hurt me the most, okay, or what will benefit me the most. And you do that analysis and pick and choose what is right, what is not. Correct? So you will have to think very holistically, and you will have to think in a very dispassionate manner that, okay, I need to do something, to overcome and come out of this particular situation, secure my today as well as my tomorrow, right? So I think that is the approach that you all should, learn. And something within you, if something is stopping you, let's say, for example, or something is giving you a trigger, for example, somebody said incentive. So you wait. Any step which is kind of drastic in nature and touches upon only a particular part of the company, think about it and how it will, have an overall impact on your business situation. Okay, those are some of the thoughts, but most of your answers were absolutely correct and in line with what any company would do. I will quickly share with you what we had done in this particular situation, right? And I liked, what Anukriti said, in terms of your management, you need to do some quick reflection on that. Is absolutely fundamental, that when you are planning, the first statement itself on this chart, if you see, you've been growing at a 20% growth, and then assuming that you will continue to grow, that itself can be questioned, that itself can be reviewed. So when you are doing a business planning process, you need to ensure that your over optimism doesn't really, kind of influence your business plan. And you keep pushing, though, we will go, grow, double digit, and suddenly this happening, in Q2 and Q1 also has not, you should very quickly think about, okay, what is going wrong in my planning? I don't want to be too conservative, but I don't want to be too optimistic as well. How can I be more realistic, right? So that I can minimize, the risk, or I can minimize the disruption that is going to, that may cause me. Okay, so I think that is a very, very important, element over there. Something which is budgeted, let's say, 10% in increase. You all have talked about it already, right? Something which is budgeted is not spent, right? So you can always control, redirect and do whatever you want. But more importantly, in your fourth point, how do we really quickly readjust, and prepare yourself, for the degrowth, or maybe maintain the growth and then ensure profitability is maintained? I think that is the key. That is where your lot of energy is going to, kind of go. And then retention challenge. So on one hand, securing business growth, retaining your customer, retaining your reputation in the market, at the same time, retaining your people, that has to be on the top of your mind. And I also want to offer one more perspective to you. When you're retaining people, you cannot retain people by not giving rewards. So somebody who can get a good raise in the market, for example, and this is a very shallow answer, by the way, I'm giving, but you need to make sure that that person also stays with you without giving any reward. So that person sees a long-term, value in being with the company, right? So how do we retain, that group is extremely important. And not only retain, but how do we really, kind of pump in that energy and enthusiasm to fight back and grow from the situation, right? And then, like I said, we have to do, if there are layoffs, we have to do it. Something you have not done in the past doesn't mean that you don't have to do it ever, right? You may have to do it. So, and then you talked about workforce composition. So I'll quickly tell you, what happened in real life situation that we all faced. So we were actually, quite frankly, called, by our president for a meeting, and he said that, okay, what are your options? And like anybody would react, we were thinking more about cost cutting and this and that. So he made one statement, which I said a couple of times. I don't know how many of you were able to catch it, but he made a statement. He said that cost and reduction, or in a way dispassion, is always an option, right? That is something which you would anyway do. If you don't want to do it, even if you don't want to do it, you have to do it, right? But I want you to think about ways how you can grow out of this situation, right? And not just react. I think that's that statement made a huge, long-lasting impact on the organization and personally on me, as a integral management team member. And I always keep thinking that whenever there is a challenging situation, how can I grow out of the situation, right? Rather than just keep working in a reactive manner. So what happens when you are actually looking at it in a dispassion kind of approach? The first thing that comes to your mind is cost containment, right? Second thing that comes to your mind is restructuring, and that will push you actually into a downward spiral, right? You will never be able to grow out of that. But second option is growth. Now, in order to achieve that growth, what needs to be done, as a business head and as a management team? I think you need to create a positive energy within the organization, right? And somebody talked about communication, transparency in the communication. That is the very first step. That is absolutely a very matured way of handling things. You cannot hide things from people. You have to go back and tell them the truth. So it is about that. But to create that positive energy, you need to also create hope and direction, right? You can't just say, okay, now we do some employee engagement activity, and then now we are pumping in energy, typical HR stuff. No, it doesn't work that way. You need to really create hope and direction, in their mind. And in order to do that, the first thing that you do is communication. What we had done in the company, we called it as a perfect storm communication. And we said, guys, we have tough situation, right? This is the reality in front of us. So we have 3 ways to react to it. So first way to react to is just freeze and let things happen to us. Second, you panic and start running helter and skelter and start running here and there, right? And third, you can actually take a pause, think, and choose your response, right? You have a free will to choose your response in a right way. And that communication was made, that one communication made such a huge impact on the organization that everybody got aligned very quickly that we are in a situation and we need to respond to that situation in a better way. Second, what we did is refocusing your organization. So what we did, one very simple thing we did, we asked people to create, everybody in the organization, to put together weekly action list. And it goes back to the workforce composition, that large portion of workforce was focusing on projects. Project business is coming, so your top line you are anyway meeting. For your bottom line, you really need more like quick ship. So we said there are 3 things which are very important. Quick ship, that business. Weekly, we want to monitor how many orders we are getting. The project business for us was 18 months. So how can we have business which can be or sale which can be turned around in a quarter's time, in a month's time? So people will focus basically on the quick ship orders. Second, meeting with customers, and many of you said marketing activity. So here what we did is marketing, but not marketing. You meeting with customer, spending time and getting whatever share you can. Somebody talked about referral. I like that idea also. That how do we create business? There were many times sales people, they sit on their table and they keep getting inquiries. They don't really need to move out. So they were Salesforce, which actually had created a list of people whom they will go and meet, right? And how many and very traditional approach they had taken. And the third was collection, that you needed cash, right? And whole lot of effort was put on collection side as well. Book to ship, collections, and customer face time. Those were the things around which the entire organization was focused for that particular period. Third, retention of the core. So what we did, we selected about 150 people from our hypothesis to watch list. And our first program was rolled out, called Transformation Leadership Program. And through that program, this group of people, we had created cohorts, and they would work on some of the top more challenges which were live at that particular moment. And just to give you an example, one group was focusing on disciplines. Discipline related to manufacturing, that we don't want any leakages. We want our manufacturing and our shipments to be extremely efficient. Our on-time delivery needs to improve, right? Just to give an example, one group was obviously focusing on collection, one group was focusing on, some of you talked about what are the new opportunities which we can go ahead and tap. And so this group really got so excited. And by the way, this was on the back of salary freeze, hiring freeze, some part of restructuring, everything that was needed, that was done in a sensible manner. So that's also a message. See, one is, challenge in a socialistic manner, right? So we need to kind of take some tough decisions for people, those who are not contributing at that particular, point of time. So this is how the core was written, and I can tell you that we ran several batches of this, and that became a primary way. Somebody talked about career enhancement. People were given challenging assignments, and then they delivered. A lot of people, they got their promotions, new jobs, job moves, through this program. And this program became an anchor program for people to move into leadership positions. So that was another important action. The third one was, on workforce composition, what you all said, we actually sat through, there were 400 people, on board. We looked at how many people are focusing on marketing, who all, not how many, who all. Who all are focusing on projects, and can we reassign projects people to, book to ship, and can we give some direct selling target to the marketing people? Okay, without really taking away the full marketing job, but they have to take some target. And that is the way the whole, and then obviously, a lot of innovation for that matter. How can we bring in more, solutions? How can we bring, for example, for the first time in the life of a company, we moved on to this model of, you can go online and buy our products, right? Even though those are highly technical. So many things we are short of time, but because you all covered most of the answers, I just wanted to let you know how we went about, right? So, frankly speaking, these are the ways, but fundamental, what remains is your management planning. And how well you do management planning, that really helps you to keep going for a longer run. And there are some fantastic examples. I will not go through this chart as much, but I'll just share some examples with you. Okay, so these are the companies, which I have always admired them to be, as fantastic companies, Toyota for that matter. And for years together, they are running their Toyota production system, which is a benchmark system, which encompasses everything, the management planning process, business planning process to execution. And you see where they stand today, in the most highly competitive world. Even there is a Tesla, Toyota is still competing with, them as well. So I think that's a great example. We don't want to go through this chart. Like I said, Danaher is another company, most admired company by the shareholders, right? And it's because how successfully they are able to change. They are extremely agile company. They're the most agile company that I have seen in my career, by the way. They have something fantastic called Danaher Business System. You can go online and read about it. It will really help you, immensely it will help you. And that system focuses around people, planning, process and performance, and a brilliant, kind of management system you can ever have. And again, Emerson, has kept evolving through ever-changing. Emerson's organization planning process, for that matter. So frequently, organization capability is reviewed, organization design is reviewed and responded very quickly. So that's in their DNA, and also their business planning process. And therefore, 66, 67 years, they've been able to give, increased dividend to their, shareholders. And not only that, this company has transformed from a very simple instrumentation company to one of the platform providing company. They are big time into IIoT. They are big time into, digital, kind of service provider. You will see there's something called a digital twin. A whole refinery can be, created virtually in their lab, and then problems can be solved remotely. So there are tons of things that they have done. So a small time instrumentation vendor company who couldn't perhaps command the kind of premium now to a software company, and very well known for its solutions for helping their customers to achieve top quartile performance. So that's where we are at. And I think those are my thoughts. So maybe we'll have to perhaps end this session. I don't know whether we will have any time for questions and answers, but I will leave it to the moderator whether we wanted to pick up some questions or whether we want to just open for some comments and some feedback.
Yes, sir. So that was a very insightful session. So we'll open the Q&A for at least 3 questions. So probably you'd be okay with that, sir?
Sure.
Sure. So we'll take 3 questions. People can raise their hands and then ask their questions. Yeah.
Yes.
So Rohit, you go first.
Yes.
Yeah, hello, sir. Sir, I actually had a question on implementation of agile framework in an organization. What are the challenges that one faces, or for that matter, any new business systems that we want to implement?
Right. So like I will take you back to this particular chart. The challenges, which I talked about are on the right side. What your culture tells you. For example, I have used that statement that Emerson has never done, restructuring in their life. Now, are you saying that is the culture, or you are saying that our culture is to stay current and relevant and do what is right for the business? Right. So it's culture and mindset both. And those are the challenges that you face. Sometimes you also face challenges when somebody has a very strong opinion about, like somebody said that I don't want to restructure anybody. I don't want to stop paying them. I want to continue to pay them. It is unfair on people. Some of those things will actually come in the way. Number 3, if you say that, okay, oh, there is no business out there, nobody is earning. So our question was, okay, if somebody is earning, business is still happening. So why can't we go and meet with our customer and say that, okay, give us more share and communicate our value in that tough situation, tough scenario, right? So I think those are the things which perhaps you need to look at. And fundamentally discipline. If your organization is not disciplined enough to quickly, kind of build that traction and move forward.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, next.
Next is Rishabh. Rishabh, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thanks for this insightful session. Sir, my question is, how does Agile promotes continuous improvement and learning within a team?
Well, I think it is the other way. If continuous learning and improvement culture will actually, enhance your agility. That is the way it is. Right? Good. Next.
Next is Kanuj.
Thank you so much. And good afternoon, sir. Sir, well, first of all, I would like to thank you for sharing all your knowledge and experience with us. So, sir, we have heard about this companies being nimble and agile with all these things. So, I just wanted to know, sir, we would actually like to know that what exactly being nimble is, like how a company and what all the strategies the company follow to become nimble, or an organization follows to become nimble.
Right. So and again, I always tend to answer this question in a very simple term. How do you, as an individual or family, kind of prepare yourself? And exactly same thing that applies to the organizations as well. That first is being very realistic. That you are not only the one who is going to always, command the premium. There will always be a threat, right? And how good you are in kind of identifying and proactive and open to identify what are the threats, that are available or that can come. How technology is going to disrupt me, right? I think that attitude is very important. And that is most of the companies, that example that I gave you, are very, very kind of ruthless, not ruthless in a bad way, but are very candid in that sense that they will say, okay, for example, I can give an example. If somebody at Emerson would have said that, okay, this is real, by the way, we had discussed that. Is there a threat for our business from some of these software companies? People would have laughed. we are technology, we are product. We know what it means. What software company is going to do? But we had that ability to keep our eyes open, saying that no, there can be a threat. And that is how Emerson's software business and platform actually evolved. Out of that particular. So being constantly, kind of conscious about or paranoid, I would say, about what is changing around you, will actually help. And then start working towards some of those possible threats. That is the strategy that companies use.
Great, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
So I can see two more hands. Would you like to take those questions?
Yeah, we can.
Sure. So Sugandha, you're next.
Hello, sir. Thank you for such an insightful session. Continuing with Kanij's question, actually, my question is also on the same line. What are the key characteristics of a nimble organization? But what I also wanted to understand is how does a leader or the leader of the organization instill these characteristics, not just as a personal trait, but make it a holistic, approach for the organization. So it is like the nimble characteristic is not affected by the leader, but it get ingrained in the organization work culture.
Right. So I think it's a very good point, Sugandha. You have heard this term, and this kind of jargon from HR people earlier, walking the talk.
Yes.
Right. And I'll give a very interesting real life example. Whether that directly relates, not relates, I don't know. Or whether that will directly answer your question. But as a management team, the business head himself, he said, okay, we are in a tough situation and I would like to respond to it, even in my personal life. And he transformed himself. He started, he took a target for himself. He was overweight like me. I have taken inspiration from him, but I have never implemented, what he had done. So he really transformed himself. If you see what he was and what he became in those 3-4 months' time was completely different. And then we picked up this idea of, bringing up examples of personal transformation in both in personal space as well as in space of career. And that is how you kind of tell the organization that agility is not only limited, or nimble is not only limited to the company. The first you imbibe that as a character within you. You show to the world that you are quick to respond. Right. You are open, right? And then you can respond in a better manner. So whole mood in the organization changed.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
So, yeah.
Thank
Good.
you.
Okay, one last question we can take.
Yes, so we'll take only one question. And Nagendra, you're next.
Hello, sir. Thank you for this session. Can you hear me clearly?
I can.
Okay, this is just an extension of what my colleagues have already asked. But what I observed was we have been using nimble and agile in the same sentence. But is there a need for using both those terms? And what does it, how does it, change in a business context?
Right. So both words are actually very similar in nature. Being nimble is, in my mind, is more focused, right? Is very razor sharp focus as opposed to just being only quick. Okay, you can be very quick, but if you don't know whether you are heading in the right direction, okay, or whether your strategies are pinpointed, your strategies are specific, very selective and impactful. That is all about being nimble, right? So agility is fine. You have flexibility, right, to change your course very quickly, but it's like turning the ship. Right? You have flexibility to turn the ship, but doing exactly what you're supposed to do is, being nimble, and that goes back into your management planning process, and that goes back into, your habits and discipline. That how do you prioritize? Okay, somebody gave an answer. Okay, I will do this. I will run Kaizens and this and that. Those are good things, but in a crisis situation, you need to do only 1, 2, 3. That's it. Don't go beyond that. Then the organization will stay focused. They will be with you. They know what exactly. See, you have seen a lot of these. If you are not, a lot of these, military operations you see, they don't waste their time. They know where they have to go, who has to go, which target to hit. They will not keep thinking. Why this target? Why cannot that? They will just go hit and come back. They're given a few seconds time to execute their job. So I think that execution with precision is very important, right? And that is what, like I said, focus, 3 things. We said only 3 things we'll do and done, right? And we turned around, by the way, business in that particular year itself.
Got it, sir. Thank you.
Good. All right.
Yeah, so thank you so much, sir. With that, I would like to request my colleague Cortelia to please deliver the vote of thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Ritesh. So on behalf of XLRI GMP batch, I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Aniruddha Khekale for the enlightening and intuitive sessions on creating a positive culture within organizations, the importance of transparency, agility, and providing a sense of direction during times of crisis. Your valuable expertise and wisdom have truly embraced our understanding of leadership, agile and nimble at the forefront. We are incredibly grateful for the time you dedicated to addressing our batch and sharing your knowledge on this crucial aspect. Your ability to foster an environment of open dialogue and learning was truly commendable. Your emphasis on the challenges faced by leaders when making tough decisions, especially in cost-cutting measures, provided us with a valuable perspective. These complexities surrounding workforce dilemmas required thoughtful consideration and assessment, and your guidance on arriving at the most appropriate solutions was invaluable. Once again, we extend our deepest gratitude for your enlightening session. Your presence and teaching have left an indelible impact on all of us, and we are grateful for the opportunity. Thank you for your invaluable contributions, and we hope to have a privilege of welcoming you again to the XLRI future. Thank you, sir.
Awesome. So quickly, 2-3 requests, before we close the session. One is that if everybody can come on the same screen and remove the pinning over there and can click a picture for me, click a screenshot for me and send it to me. That will be a great help. Number 1. Number 2, if somebody can also send me link, of this recording for my own, record and reference, that will be fantastic. I can see 3 screens, so somebody will have to go, through all 3 screens and then capture the screenshot. And lastly, some of these things, your alumni, I think, when I was there last, we had hired some people and Emerson. Some of them are still continuing, some of them have left. But you can get in touch with them and know more about the real life stories, from my journey with Emerson. That's all, but wonderful talking to you. I'm extremely impressed with your knowledge, with your thought process, the solutions that you brought up. I'm absolutely thrilled to hear all of those ideas, and those are absolutely on track, right on the spot. And I'm just thrilled to see how many, new leaders will come up from this particular group that I'm seeing. I'm hoping to come and meet all of you in person. Let's see when life and time presents that opportunity. But for now, all the very best and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.